We're trying to operate with an old script in a new environment. And put simply, the maths just doesn't work. Sustainable leadership looks different. It has to. It looks less like heroic endurance and more like intelligent boundaries. It looks less like being the busiest person in the building and more like being the clearest. This is Headship After Hours, the space for conversations school leaders rarely get to have during the day. Not the polished answers, not the official lines, just honest reflection on the weight of leadership and the things that keep you awake and how to lead without losing yourself in the process. If headship has felt heavier than you expected, you're in the right place. I'm Paul Collin. Let's talk. I want to talk today about something I think sits quietly underneath a lot of burnout in leadership. And that's this. Many of us are trying to lead sustainably using a model of leadership that we never sustainably had in the first place. If you think about the head teachers you watched when you were younger in your career, what did you see? Well, you saw presence, you saw authority, you saw decisiveness, you saw someone who seemed to absorb everything without flinching. What you probably did not see was vulnerability. You didn't see the reset, you didn't see the uncertainty, and you didn't see the boundaries. And so we inherited a model that said leadership means always being available, always being composed, always knowing the answer, always absorbing the pressure. And if you're honest, you've probably tried to live up to that at some point with your teaching journey or indeed the leadership journey that you're currently on. I know I have. The problem is this. The model was built for a different era, a different age of education, an era before the constant emails, before parental access at any hour, before social media amplification, before the complexity of safeguarding, attendance, mental health that now shapes our schools. We're trying to operate with an old script in a new environment. And put simply, the maths just doesn't work. Sustainable leadership looks different. It has to. It looks less like heroic endurance and more like intelligent boundaries. It looks less like being the busiest person in the building and more like being the clearest. It looks less like absorbing everything personally and more like building systems that were able to or are able to distribute weight properly. And sometimes that can feel uncomfortable because it challenges the story we were shown. There's also something culturally here in education. We sacrifice, we quietly admire the heads who is always early and always last out. We speak highly of the leaders who answer emails at midnight. We see exhaustion as evidence of commitment, but exhaustion is not evidence of effectiveness. It is evidence of depletion, and depleted leaders do not and cannot build resilience in schools. Sustainable leadership means recognizing that you are not the system. You are part of it. It means that you have to ask yourself hard questions. What am I doing that somebody else could be empowered to do? What am I holding control, or where am I holding control that could be shared? Where am I reacting out of habit rather than design? Where am I saying yes automatically when a full no would protect the whole organisation? These sometimes uncomfortable reflections, although not always, are necessary ones, necessary for sustainability. And it also means redefining strength. Strength's not silent stuttering. strength is clarity. Strength is knowing when to pause. Strength is admitting when something is not working and being humble enough to adjust it. Strength is building a leadership team that genuinely cares and carries the load, not one that waits for you to solve everything. There is a risk in sustainable leadership. It may look different. It may not look as visibly frantic. It may not satisfy everyone's expectation of what a strong head looks like. But it will allow you to stay. And in schools, staying matters because experience matters, wisdom matters, consistency matters, certainty matters. Burning bright and burning out helps no one. If you're listening to this and thinking, I do not know what sustainable leadership looks like for me yet, that's okay. It's not a fixed formula. It's a process of unlearning and relearning. Unlearning urgency as identity, unlearning busyness as value, and unlearning isolation as strength, and slowly, intentionally designing a way of leading that protects both the school and personal and the person leading it. Sustainable leadership looks very different to what many of us were shown, and that is not weakness. That is evolution. If something in this episode resonates, sit with it for a moment. Leadership is not meant to be carried in silence. If this conversation helped you feel less alone, then that matters. This is Headship After Hours. We'll keep talking and stay connected.